Okay, this is section 2.5, buying stuff without money, installment buying. So we've got three prep skills questions. So again, if at any point uh, you want to pause the video and try these any of these before hearing the explanation, then you have that option. So this is one where if you want to try to do this on your own first, you can go ahead and pause the video and then unpause it when you're ready. All right, so number one, write each percent in decimal form. So I know we've been doing this a lot, but it's important that you know how to do this quickly. So 91%, that becomes 0.91. 6.48%, that becomes 0.0648. What is 1.8% of 11,375? So uh, we're going to turn the percentage into a decimal. So 0.018 times 11,375, 0.018 times 11,375. That's 204.75. Now there's no unit given. So I don't have to leave my answer with a certain unit. Okay. All right. Suppose you borrow $450 to buy an item. If the interest rate is 14.76% simple interest for 2 years, how much would you have to pay back? Okay. Well, they want to know what would be the future value. So, and they told me simple interest. Okay, so remember at this point, we have now covered simple interest and compound interest. So you have to look uh, for which formula that it's going to steer you towards. Okay, so this, since it says simple interest, that's our formula. That's going to be the linear one. So that's P times 1 plus R times T. Okay, that's the formula that we're going to use. So my principal is 450. My interest rate is going to be 0.1476, and then T is going to be 2 for 2 years. All right, so we're going to plug this in. So 450 times 1 plus 0.1476 times 2. All right, and then let's see, this is going to be approximate. It may not be an approximation. I don't remember what the answer is. But here we go. So 450, open parentheses, 1 plus 0.1476 times 2, close it. Oh, no approximation needed. It stopped on its own at 2 decimals. So the future, let's see, how much would you have to pay back? So if you borrowed $450, we're going to have to pay back $582.84. Okay. All right. Good. Now, fixed installment loans. Okay, a fixed installment loan is a loan that's repaid in equal payments. Sometimes the buyer will pay part of the cost at the time of the purchase. This is known as a down payment. Here are some other key terms to describe installment loans. So the amount financed is the amount a borrower will pay interest on. And the way that you determine the amount financed is you take the price of the item minus the down payment. So this is a key thing that'll happen when you buy a car. You're going to take, uh, or if you buy a house, especially when you buy a house, they are going to want a down payment. But when you buy a car, most likely you're going to put some money down for the car. Okay, so it's always the price of the item minus how much is required for the down payment. And then that leftover amount is what you would take out the loan for. Okay, so that would be how much you're financing your loan for. It's the whatever's left over. The total installment price is the total amount of money the buyer will ultimately pay. So that is calculated by finding the sum of all payments plus what the down payment was that you put down. Okay. The finance charge is the interest charge. The finance charge is the interest. Finance charge is the interest. Finance charge is the interest. I've repeated that several times because this is going to come up a lot. Okay. So the way that you find the finance charge, so it's the interest charge for borrowing the amount financed. So your finance charge is your total installment price minus the price of the item. Since it's the same thing as your interest, you can think of it as your future value minus the present value. Okay? So this is the same thing as finding uh, the interest, which is your future value minus your present value or your principal. Okay? I'm going to start using present value, and you'll see why in a little bit. Okay? But present value is the same thing as your principal. Okay? So let's take a look at a problem where we use some of these strategies. So we have the cost of a car is $12,260. We have a down payment of $3,000. Monthly payment is going to be $231.50, and the term of the loan is 48 months. So what is the amount financed? Okay. So the amount financed is going to be the cost of the car minus the down payment. Amount financed, the price of the item minus the down payment. So that's the cost of the car, which is $12,260 minus the $3,000. So that means that we are going to finance $9,260. Okay. Now, I've said this in other videos, and I know I've said this in class. Do not just give me this. Don't just give me some kind of calculation with some number and not tell me what this represents. You better tell me, okay, I am going to calculate the amount financed, and this is my calculation, and here is my answer. Okay, so make sure that you do that. Now, number two, what's the total amount of all monthly payments? Okay, well, let's think about this. The total amount of all monthly payments. Well, we're going to be paying in this scenario, your monthly payment is going to be $231.50 over the length of the loan. So if your monthly payment is $231.50 and the length of the loan is 48 months, then that means every month, so 48 times, you are going to make payments of $231.50. Okay, so your total monthly payments, we are going to multiply these two together. So it's the 231.50 times 48. Okay, 231.50 times 48, and we get $11,112. $11,112. Okay. All right. Now, what's the total installment price? So the total installment price is going to be the sum of all payments plus the down payment. So the sum of all payments is what we did in number two. Okay. Sorry, you guys don't need to see this part. I don't think you saw that. I don't know if it showed up or not. Okay. So let me move this out. Okay. Nope. Bring that up. Okay. All right. So the total installment price, the sum of all payments, total installment price. Okay, the sum of all payments is $11,112 plus the down payment, which was 3,000. So that means it's $14,112. Okay, that's the total installment price. That's how much you are invested. You have invested $14,112 in this scenario. Okay, find the finance charge, then describe what that amount really represents. Okay, finance charge. It's the total installment price minus the price of the item. All right, so your finance charge is the total installment price, which is the 14,112 minus the price of the item, which the item is $12,260. So we're just going to subtract 14,112 minus 12,260. So it's 1852. All right, that's our finance charge. Now, what does that mean? Well, what it means is this is the amount interest that was added to the loan. That's your interest. Okay. Your future value. So this is how much you're going all in to buy this car is a $14,112 minus the present value. Well, the car is presently worth $12,260. So you subtract that amount, the difference is going to be the finance charge. Okay. So we've done this calculation several times, but it's the same thing. The only difference is that now it's just being referred to as the finance charge instead of interest, but it's the same thing. Okay. All right. So let's look at example one. Mary Jo bought a treadmill for $950. She made a 30% down payment and financed the rest over 12 months. Okay. Find the monthly payment if the finance charge was 6% of the amount financed. Okay. So she bought the treadmill for $950 and she made a 30% down payment and she financed the rest. Okay. So amount financed. Well, first we need to know what the down payment is, right? Because we have to subtract this from, we have to know how much we have to subtract it from the 950 so that we know how much she's gonna finance. So the down payment is going to be 30% of the 950. So that's 0.30 times 950. And that's going to give us $285. Okay. So the amount financed is going to be the purchase price, the 950 minus the down payment. That's $665. That's how much she's going to finance. Okay. Now it says find the monthly payment if the finance charge was 6% of the amount financed. Okay, so we've got some calculations that we're going to have to do. So she's going to finance $665 at 6% over 12 months. Okay, so that means we're going to need a formula. Okay, so which formula? So you're going to have to back up. Which formula are we going to need? Okay, so we need to find the finance charge. All right, so the finance charge is 6% of the amount that we're going to finance. So 0.06 times the 665. 0.06 times 665. All right, so $39.90. So that's how much interest she's going to be charged. Okay. So now her total installment, so how much is she in? So her total installment is going to be um, the 950. Whoops, sorry. We're going to take the 950 and add the finance charge to it. And that's going to give us, just crunching this out to the side, $989.90. Okay. So now that's how much she's all in. Okay. Now it says she's going to pay this amount. She's going to pay it out over 12 months. So her monthly payment is going to be the 989.90 divided by 12. So 989.90 divided by 12 is approximately $82.49. Okay. That was a lot of little bitty calculation. All right. But that's what she's going to have to pay every month. Okay. All right. Now, now we're going to get into using the TVM solver, using our calculators. All right. So this video is actually being made after I have lectured in class, so I need to go back and make a correction. So before I had told you that the PY and CY would always stay at 12, that's not always true. Okay. So uh, for right now, we can leave them at 12, but in section 2.6, we are going to be changing, uh, we're going to be changing these amounts. What I can tell you is on the TVM solver, these are always going to be that this last box will always say end, because we are always going to be, all the calculations that we make are going to be based on um, like determining uh, when we do our calculations, we always did when we looked for sorry guys, for simple interest and compound interest. Remember that The way that it was set up in the table, it was at after 1 year, at the end of 1 year, at the end of year two, or whatever. It was always at the end, and that's what that's referring to. Okay. All right. So I have to give you some explanation about I have to give you some explanation about the table. Big N is going to be comprised of two variables, little n and t. So if you'll remember, little n is your compounding period, being that is it compounded monthly, daily, quarterly, semi-annually, what? And T is going to refer to years. I'm going to do that in orange. It looks too much like the red. So T is going to be the number of years. Okay. Now, your I% is going to be your interest rate. Now, about this, for the interest rate, this is very important. Do not turn this into a decimal. Whatever you're given, just plug it in. Okay. So we're given 2.9%. Then I'm just going to plug in 2.9. Okay. We don't worry about it. PV is the same thing as this refers to the present value. This is the same thing as P. What's the principal? Your principal. The amount that you are investing or borrowing. PMT is the payment, is the monthly payment. Sometimes we're given this amount, sometimes we have to find it. Okay. And then FV is the future value, which is the same as A. Okay. All right. And then I'll explain the PY and the CY as we go along. Okay. So we're going to look at this problem. The Honda 2019 President's Day event offers a certified pre-owned CRV with a special APR, annual percentage rate, of 2.9% for 60 months. If one particular vehicle has a selling price of $27,295 and a buyer trades in an older car for a down payment of $4,500, calculate the monthly payment for this loan. Okay, so I need to know the amount financed because it's telling me that the buyer is going to trade in an older car as a down payment. So it's the selling price, the price of what you want to buy, the $27,295 minus the $4,500. Okay. So 27,295 minus 4,500. So that's $22,795. The amount financed is going to be the PV. That's your present value. Okay. So I'm going to type that in. I'm going to type it. I'm going to write it in here. 22,795. Okay. Now it says I have an APR, annual percentage rate, of 2.9%. This is my I. So it's just 2.9. for 60 months. Now they were nice and they told me the value of big N because remember your compounding period, it's big N is made up of little n times t. Well, 60 months, if I divide 60 by 12, that's 5 years. So T would be 5 and the compounding period would be 12 because this is a monthly payment that we're looking for. Okay. So this is going to be 12 times 5, which is how we got the 60. All right. And let's see. Now, since our compounding period is monthly, then the PY and the CY are going to stay at 12. All right. Now, we also have a loan. This is all leading up to a loan. And the future value, what do you want the future value of any loan to be? Well, I want the future value to be 0 because at the end of the time period, I don't want to have to owe the bank anything. Okay? And I'm looking for PMT. And that's the only thing that's left. Remember, PMT is your monthly payment. And that's what we're looking for. Calculate the monthly payment. Calculate the monthly payment, which is that. Okay. Okay. So here's how we're going to do this. So you're going to press apps and then we're going to press enter for number 1. It's selected. So we want to go under finance and then the TVM solver. Again, just press enter and here it is. And we're going to enter in these values. So big N is 60. I'm going to enter in 2.9, not 0.029, just 2.9. My present value is 22,795. I'm looking for PMT, so I'm going to skip that for just a minute. So just arrow down, okay? Our future value, remember, we want that to be a 0. And then our present value is already set at 12. And then the CY will automatically change. So look, if I just want you to notice real quick, if I change the PY to be 5 for whatever reason, CY automatically changes. And then your payment is always going to be at the end of the month. Okay, so we want that to be a 12 and then the CY automatically changes. Okay, now that I have everything set, I'm going to arrow back up to PMT. Now, the way that we get our answer using the TVM solver is you're going to press alpha and then enter. And then notice how we get this value. Okay. So you're going to arrow back up to whatever it is you're looking for. In this case, we're looking for our monthly payment. Okay. And then you press alpha, enter. And now notice the alpha at the bottom. When you press enter, the alpha is the green key and then solve. So that's what we're solving for is the payment. So it's alpha enter and that gets you the solve. Okay, now I have to explain this. So this is my monthly payment. This is money. So it's going to be $408.58. Okay, now I'm not going to write in minus $408.58. What you have to understand here, the reason why this is negative is because this amount is being taken out of your bank account or you're having to pay that amount. Okay, so you're having to take it out of whatever money source that you have. So it's going out because you owe it. That's why it's negative. Now, we could take the same idea for present value. We're taking the loan out for $22,795. We don't have that money, but that's how much we are going to owe. So watch, if I enter this in as negative $22,795, And then I go back to PMT, my payment, and I press alpha, enter. Then notice we still get that same value, except this time it's positive. Okay, so you can change, you can do whichever you want on this one. All right, but the negative sign, you will have to sometimes make your present value negative. And sometimes if you have a payment, then you're going to have to enter that in as a negative for this other stuff to work. Okay. So anyways, all right, that's all I wanted to say about that. And so that's your answer. PMT. Your monthly payment is going to be 408.58. Okay. All right, now let's look at this next one. John Gabriel bought a new Ford Focus for 21,700. He made a down payment of $7,000 and he financed the balance at $456.91 a month for 3 years. Find the annual percentage rate. Okay, so they're asking for something different. All right, well, let's see. So he bought a new Ford Focus for $21,700 and he made a 7,000 down payment. So how much did he finance? So amount financed. We don't have to calculate the down payment, which is nice. So the amount financed is 21,700 minus the 7,000, and that's going to give us 14,700. Okay, now remember the amount financed is your present value. Okay. So I'm going to, again, your choice. You can put this in as a positive or a negative number. I'm just going to put it in as a positive. Okay. So check, check. We've gotten those two taken care of. It says he financed the balance at $456.91 a month. So that means this is his monthly payment. So this uh, is PMT. Now, this is where we have to enter this in as a negative. Okay, so if you don't enter this, if this stays positive, then this is going to have to be negative. If you put this as a negative, then you need to make this positive. Okay. All right. Now I want the future value to be 0. He's making monthly payments. So the PYCY is going to be 12. Now he's making monthly payments for 3 years. So little n is 12. So that means this is being compounded monthly for 3 years. And so that's 36. And this is what I'm looking for. Find the annual percentage rate. So that's what I'm looking for. Okay. All right. Now we have all the information that we needed. So here we go. So now watch. I can just type in 12 times 3 and it's going to do the number crunching for me. Okay. If you want to type in 36, you can. Whatever that number is, if it gives it to you, great. Sometimes you're going to have to figure out what it is. Okay. Now we're looking for the interest rate. So I'm going to skip over that. So now my present value is 14,700. My payment is going to be negative $456.91. The future value is going to be 0. My PYCY is 12. My payment is going to be N, which is great. So now I go back to I percent. Okay, that's where it's blinking. And then I press alpha, enter. And we're going to get roughly, we're going to round. Let's see. Let's round this to 2 decimals. Okay, round to 2 decimals. All right, so that's going to be 7.45%. Okay, and that's it. That's what they wanted. Okay, good. All right, now example 4. Elaine is in the market for a good used car. She finds a Dodge Charger she likes at her friendly local dealer. The dealer is asking 17,499, but Elaine negotiates the price down to $16,250 with a down payment of $6,000. The dealer claims an interest rate of 7.25% for 48 months and reports the monthly payment as 246.93. Help Elaine decide if the dealer is being honest about the interest rate. Okay. So the dealer's asking 17,499, but she negotiates the price down to 16,250 with the down payment of $6,000. Okay. All that said, that means I don't need this number because she talked him down to 16,250. Okay, so what I do need to find is the amount financed because this is my PV. So that's going to be the 16,250 minus the 6,000. So that means she's going to finance $10,250. Okay, so check, check. The dealer claims an interest rate of 7.25%. Check. For 48 months. 48 months is how many years? So if you divide that by 12, that's 4. So this is compounded monthly for 4 years, but they gave us big N. So I'm just going to write in 48. I'm just emphasizing this so that uh, you'll know where that's coming from. Okay. Now the monthly payment is 246.93. So remember, this is going to be a negative value. So minus 246.93. Again, if you enter PV in as positive, then your payment has to be negative. If you enter this in as negative, your payment has to be positive. And we do not want, oh, wait a minute. Sorry. We do not want a future value. We want that to be 0. I'm sorry, guys. I was just throwing numbers everywhere. Okay. So it said the questions are at the end. It says help Elaine decide if the dealer is being honest about the interest rate. So I'm looking for the interest rate. Okay. Now this is compounded monthly. So 12 and 12. This is what I'm looking for. All right. So we're going to have 48 for big N. I'm going to skip over the I%. My present value is going to be the 10,250. My payment is negative 246.93. Future value is 0. PYCY is 12 and then end. So we're going to arrow back up to our interest rate. And then we're going to press alpha enter. And we get 7.31. Okay. So is the dealer being honest about the interest rate? The dealer claims an interest rate of 7.25%, but really it's 7.31. So the dealer oh my gosh, the dealer is not um, being, not quite being honest. The dealer is not quite being honest. The APR is actually 7.31%. Okay. So we need to make that sentence because this was something that was uh it was more than just finding a number. Okay. So we had to make some kind of statement to help Elaine decide if the dealer was being honest or not. Okay. All right, let's look at number 5. Suppose you buy $3,400 worth of furniture for a new house. The furniture store is offering a fixed installment loan with a 3-year financing with no money down at 11.99% annual interest. What is a monthly payment? Okay, no down payment, so we don't have to calculate the amount financed, which is great. So that means they have given us PV, so that's 3,400. They have given us I%, so that's 11.99. We want the future value to be 0. Now they are looking for monthly. What is the monthly payment? So I'm looking for payment. Okay. But they said uh, the furniture store is offering a fixed installment loan with 3-year financing. So for 3 years, they're going to finance this. And what will the monthly payment be? So that means little n, this is going to be compounded monthly for 3 years. And that'll be 36. Since it's compounded monthly, PYCY is going to be 12 and then end. All right. All right. So here we go. So we're going to, whoops. Big N is 36. Our I% is 11.99. Our PV is 3,400. And then future value is 0, 12, 12, N. So we're good. Okay. So now we're going to stay on payment or arrow up to payment, depending upon where you are. Okay, now alpha, enter. So our payment is going to be $112.91. Okay, and there we go. So that was nice, but all we had to do was enter the numbers in and go from there. Okay, now let's look at 6. Suppose you buy $3,600 worth of furniture for a new house. A furniture store is offering fixed installment loan with 3-year financing, no money down, at 11.92 annual APR, annual percentage rate. Okay, so find the monthly rate, find the total installment price, and find the finance charge. So we are going to start off by doing the exact same thing that we did in example 5. Okay, so they said 3-year financing with no money down at 11.92%. Okay, so I% is 11.92. Our PV this time is 3,600. And then for 12 months, for 3 years, we're going to be making payments. So I want FV to be 0. This is compounded monthly. So that PYCY is 12. And then end, it's going to be at the bottom block. Okay, so we're going to look for our monthly payment. All right, I'm going to arrow up. So we've got 36, 11.92. Our PV this time is 3,600. I'm going to hang out here on payment and then just eyeball that the rest is okay, and it is. Okay, so we're going to do alpha, enter. So our monthly payment is $119.43. Okay. Now find the total installment price. Okay, so what this means is There was no money put down because normally we would have to add that amount back. Okay, so the total installment price means that we're going to be making $119.43 payments every month for 3 years. So for 36 times, I am going to make these payments. So second quit. So 36 times 119.43, that's 42,000. I'm sorry, $4,299.48. Okay, now what's the finance charge? Okay, remember, this is just like interest. What's the interest? That's what they want to know. So the finance charge is going to be the future value, which is the total installment price. This is your future value. So it's your future value minus the present value, or A minus P, future value minus your principal. Okay, so that's $4,299.48 minus the $3,600. So it's just that minus 3,600. So 699.48. All right, that's my finance charge. Okay, that's how you do it. All right. Now let's look at the last example. Okay, suppose that you want to avoid paying interest and decide you'll only buy the furniture when you have the money to pay for it. An annuity is basically the opposite of a fixed installment loan. You deposit a fixed amount each month and receive interest based on the total amount that's been saved. With the monthly payment of $120, what would the future value be if you choose an annuity with a term of 2 years at 4.4% interest? Okay, so this is like, it's just a little bitty investment. Okay, so instead of you having to pay that interest, you're going to be making these monthly payments, in this case for 2 years, so that you're going to let the bank work for you. Then you'll have this amount that you can work with, okay, at the end. So since we are told that we're going to be making $120 monthly payments, so that's going to be minus 120. And remember, I told you how sometimes you're going to have to put in the negative sign, and this is where you're going to have to do it. Okay. I know that my interest rate is 4.4%. We're making monthly payments, so my PY and CY are both going to be 12. This is going to be end. We are actually looking for FV. That's what we want to know. So I don't have a present value. That's going to be 0. So normally that's the opposite. Normally our future value would be 0. We would start off with some amount that we're going to finance, and then we would want the future value to be 0 at the end. But here it's flipped because we want to have some money at the end. We want the bank to give us some money. Okay. Now, big N, well, we're making monthly payments, so that's compounded monthly. For how long? Well, 2 years. So that's 24. Okay. So let's go get back into our TVM solver. Okay. So we've got big N at 24. Our I percent is 4.4. Our PV is 0. Our payment is negative 120. And then I have PYCY at 12 and then N. So we're good. So I'm hanging out here at FV at our future value. Okay, that's what I want. So alpha, enter. So that means that our future value, and notice how the future value is positive, and we want it to be positive because that means we're going to get some money at the end. So our future value would be $3,004.77. Okay. So this means uh, you will have a little over $3,000 to spend on furniture in 2 years. Okay. That's what that means. All right. So that's it for 2-5. So let me know if you have any questions.